Everyone will please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody to the June meeting of the Irondequoit Zoning Board of Appeals. Before we get underway, there's a few preliminary matters that I'd like to take care of. First off, in the event of a fire, please move calmly in the direction of the doors and take either the north or the south steps. Do not use the elevator. We call the cases in the order that they appear on the agenda. Extra copies of the agenda are on the table by the door. The procedure that we follow is this. When the case is called, the applicant or their representative should come to the podium, state their name and their address, pause a moment to be sworn, and then present their case to the board. During the presentation of the applicant's case, the board members may engage in discussion or ask questions of the applicant or their representative. And once that process is complete, then we will open it up to public hearing. During the public hearing portion, we have identified three types of public hearing or public input. The first is those that we call will be those who wish to speak in favor of the application. When everyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application has finished, we'll open it up to those who would be opposed to the application. When those who are opposed to the application have completed, then we open it up to those who are neither in favor nor opposed, but have questions about the application or want to comment about some aspect of the application. Once the public input portion of during the public input portion, anyone who wishes to speak is welcome to speak. You get one opportunity. When you've spoken and sit down, that's it. There's no second round because I thought of something else or I want to address something else. You get a chance and that's your chance. After that process is complete, then the applicant or their representative is given an opportunity to address anything that came up during the public input portion of the meeting. Once that's completed, then we move on to the next case. After we've finished all of the cases on our agenda, the board will take a short recess. And then when we return, we will deliberate and determine the cases that are before us. We do that in the order that they appear on the agenda and for which the applicant or their representative remains present. So if the person whose application on the agenda is first has left, then we'll call the second case, and we'll continue calling the cases for the applicants or their representatives who are present. And when we've finished all of that, then we'll go back to the agenda and call the cases in that order for the applicants who left early. During the deliberation portion of the meeting, there is no further public input unless it's specifically requested by a member of the board. If you don't need to stay, but you're welcome to stay for the deliberation portion of the meeting. If you leave and you're interested in knowing what we've decided, you can tune us in on channel, I think it's 1301. 1303. One of these nights I'll get it right. 1303, or you can call the town hall in the morning, ask for the zoning and planning office, and they'll be glad to tell you what we decided on each application. So, if we could call the first case on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item on the agenda is case number ZB 2024-06-1, request by Carly and Steve Bellingham for a special use permit to harbor 6 hens with coop pursuant to Town Code subsection 235-70 on premises 153 Oak Ridge Drive in an R1 residential district.
Hello, my name's Steve Bellingham. I live at 153 Oak Ridge Drive, Rochester, New York, 14617.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have much in the way of a presentation. My wife sent me here. I apologize for that. And basically,
Oh, don't apologize for that.
Okay.
No, you were doing fine.
we have constructed a coop. As far as we know, it is within the parameters that the town has set forth. It is 4 feet from the edges of our property line. There's 2 feet of chicken wire dug down all the way around the whole perimeter of the coop and the run. We have 6, all hens, and we're hoping that you guys give us your blessing and let us keep these chickens.
Sounds like you did your homework.
Yes.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? You understand that the 6 hens that we approve are the 6 that we approve and not replacements later on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at the last meeting, we were informed that it's rather difficult to obtain the annual veterinary statements that we'd asked for in the past on an annual basis.
Yeah.
So we did not impose that requirement last month. If we approve it, which I would suspect we won't impose it for you, but have they been checked by a vet at this point?
They have not. We contacted, I think they changed name. Last time I knew it was Eastridge Veterinary. And they said they'd be more than happy to do that for us if you requested.
Well, I think we'd like an initial check.
Okay.
I don't think they're very much, from what we were told last month, I don't think they're very susceptible to, but obviously if they show signs of not doing well, you would be well advised to have them checked out, but.
Yes.
All right.
Excuse me, sir, you'd like us to go ahead and get that taken care of then and get them checked out?
Yes.
Okay.
If when somebody from the town asks, that you would have it, that's all.
Okay.
I mean, for one of the conditions is that someone from the town will come out to check to make sure that everything is in order with what we approve.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from members of the board? Seeing none, we'll open it up to public input. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this application? You didn't bring your kids, they usually speak in favor.
I left their soccer game.
Oh, okay, all right, that's a good excuse. Anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? Step right up.
Terry Carter, 99 Oak Ridge Drive, resident of the town since 1980. Oak Ridge Drive, Tyringham Road and Scotch Lane are part of a premier R1 residential district. My concern is that chicken coops seem more appropriate for more rural residential areas. With 6 chickens, the structure would need to be a good size, unless the chickens will be living in the yard. If such a structure were visible from my house, and I'm 4 doors from Steve, so it could affect the sale value of my property. Not everybody's going to want to look at a chicken coop. Would a chicken coop attract rodents? Research indicates it would. Yes, steps can be taken to reduce the risk, but it is there nonetheless. I believe the board also needs to consider the broader implications of this application. If approved, this would set a precedent. Anyone and everyone on Oak Ridge Drive could have a chicken coop. And what other animals can be included in future applications? If you go down 490 East, come off at 31, you'll see the goats in the paddock on the right between the first 2 lights. Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs are quite popular in many areas as pets. How could you, in fairness, differentiate one application from the other? Over time, all this could fundamentally change the characteristics of the neighborhood, and not necessarily for the better. I think you need to look at the broader implications of just Steve's application. Thank you and good night.
You're welcome. Let me just address the underlying theory of your concerns. We are not here to determine whether or not hens or goats or Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs are allowed in the town of Arundecoit. The town board has already made that determination that they are. What they have done after they made the determination that exotic animals, and we've approved goats, and we've approved Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs, we've approved monkeys, we've approved coatis, which is a South American animal like a raccoon. We've approved a number of exotic and unusual animals because the town code says that residents of the town are allowed to harbor those animals, provided that they obtain a special use permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. The special use permit gives us the opportunity to impose conditions that we believe will minimize any negative impact on the neighborhood. And over the years, without any formal training, we have developed a number of conditions that we've imposed, such as that the coop has to be 4 feet from the side and rear yards of the property, that there has to be a protective barrier, chicken wire or something else, buried 2 feet below the surface of the ground that totally surrounds the coop in any run area. We do not allow roosters. We require that the food be stored other than outside, like in a garage or a shed, and that it be stored in containers that it's not readily accessible. We in the past have limited them to 6 hens, and as I mentioned earlier, not allowed for replacement of hens that don't make it, and we've limited the special use permits to a term of 5 years. We had in the past, because we thought that it was a good idea, imposed the requirement that the homeowner have an annual veteran certificate that they provide to the town, but we since have learned that that's really not as practicable for a couple of reasons. One are the limited number of veterinarians that are able to certify the health of hens. And then we are also informed about hens apparently are similar to cats in terms of their reaction to being transported. And it's not a pleasant experience, we were told. So we've kind of just formulated that down to an initial one to make sure that at the beginning that they're healthy and that the person go and look. But I appreciate your concerns, and those concerns could be taken to the town board, who could amend the town code to say what animals are or are not allowed. As I said, nobody's trained us in this. We've been feeling our way for the last 10 years, 15 years. And at one point we had a member of the board who was familiar with chickens, and he's the one who helped us come up with those conditions, because the town board has said that certain things in the town are permitted. Exotic animals are one. Another one that's come before us is windmills. Those are permitted in the town. There's a number of things that are permitted uses in the town that require a special use permit, and some special use permits are in our realm, others are with the town board, some are with other boards or agencies. So I appreciate your concerns, and I thank you for taking the time to bring them to our attention. I just want you to understand the limited role that we play. The town board may be a more appropriate place for you to share those concerns, with a view towards having them amend the town code to deal with that issue more directly.
I will retain my concerns, but what I'm hearing is that the decision has already been made.
No, the decision has already been made by the town board that they're allowed. We have to actually impose the conditions.
But the decision has been made.
Well, the decision's been made for us by the town board, yes.
Okay.
Okay?
you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address this application? Mr. Bellingham, did you have anything you'd like to add?
I would just like to add that if you'd like to come down and inspect yourself, you can stop down anytime and take a look, and I'll share the things that we've done to try to mitigate any of the concerns that you have.
I pass your house regularly on my exercise walks, and I'm sure we're chatting, so I thought probably do that too.
Okay, thank you.
All right, then we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter and move on to the next application on the agenda.
Next case on the agenda is case number ZB 2024-06-2, request by Louise Boulay for an area variance to install side yard fencing exceeding maximum permitted height on premises 344 Sagamore Drive in an R1 residential district.
Good evening, Ms. Boylott.
Good evening. As you know, my name is Louise Boylott, and I reside at 344 Sagamore Drive.
And you don't need to raise your hand because I know that you're an attorney and as such, you have much larger consequences if you aren't candid with us than having you sworn in. So present your case.
Actually, I'm retired now.
That's
so-
all right.
Okay.
You did it once
Thank you.
for several years.
Well, I've resided at Sagamore Drive for over 30 years, and I'm respectfully requesting a height variance for my side yard fence between my house and my neighbor's house. As you know, the code permits a 4-foot-high fence, and I'm seeking a variance for a 6-foot-high fence. My next-door neighbor, John Kroll, is really the only neighbor that would be affected by the variance because the fence would run between our two houses. And he, in fact, supports my request, and he actually volunteered to write a letter to that effect, and you should have that with my application. John has a 6-foot fence on our lot line that is between our two backyards, and my proposed fence would just continue along between our two houses, and it would end at my front foundation as is required by the code. And my front foundation is approximately 45 feet from the street. I have a large kitchen window and a table that face John's house, and so a higher fence, a 6-foot fence, would afford me some additional privacy. A 6-foot side yard fence would blend well in the neighborhood because, as I indicated in my statement, there are numerous homes on Sagamore Drive and the adjacent Mount Airy Drive that have 6-foot side yard fences between the two properties. So I respectfully request that I may also have one. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are the shrubs staying or going? I'm over here.
Yes, sir?
Are the shrubs staying or going? Who's going to maintain that side?
They're in pretty bad shape, so they would be going. They're scraggly and half dead, and
I
it's
see
kind
that.
of a jungle between our two houses, so the fence would actually be an improvement.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other questions or comments from the board, we'll open it up to public input.
Thank
Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone who'd like to talk to us about fencing? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter, or fencing or anything else related to the application. So we'll close the case with respect to that matter and move on to the next item on the agenda.
Next item is case number ZB 2024-06-3, request by Land Tech, acting as agent for El Josh Properties LLC for area variances for the proposed construction of a 10-unit apartment building with 2 additional detached garages with less than required setbacks, corner front, and rear, and exceeding maximum building coverage and with less than minimum required lot area on premises 5324, 5334, 5340 St. Paul Boulevard, and 8 2nd Street in a C business district.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Sharaba with Lantec. My office is located 1105 Ridgeway Avenue.
You swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
So good evening, everybody. As the public notice stated, we are here for several variances. The property, I think, is kind of a well-known property within the town. It's the former Anchor Inn, depending on how old you are, you remember that place, and it's also the Sly Fox after that. Mr. Solitari, my client who is here this evening, along with Mr. Dave Strable, architect that can talk about the building as we move forward. But the property consists of 4 tax parcels. If you combine all those parcels together, it's 4/10 of an acre. We have about 200 foot of frontage on St. Paul between Somerville Drive and 2nd Street, and it's about 110 feet deep. And so it's fairly small in the area. It's Zone C commercial. And when Mr. Solitari has owned this property for approximately 10 years, tried to nurture the businesses that were there, and unfortunately the restaurants failed over time. There is a single-family house on one of the properties that would be raised as part of this application. But he has been trying to market the property for operations related commercially, and really hasn't worked out. And so as he wanted to move forward with a residential project, so we're proposing a 10-unit apartment project for rent. That within that building there'll be 7 garages, and then we're proposing 2 other garage structures outside of that. We'll have 4 garages in each. Though we have off-street parking associated with this project. We have a bike rack. We have a dumpster enclosure. And we're here to this board. I think I would be here anyway for any application. If you look at the zoning code, we have a 60-foot setback. So if we consider this a corner lot, we're only 110 feet deep. We have a 60-foot rear setback. So consider these are corner lots. Any application or any development or redevelopment of this property would have to come to this board for relief of some of these setbacks. But what Sale did and what we did as a design team, and I think Mr. Strable did more, he really took a look at the comprehensive plan of the town of Roanoke that was done in 2014 and the need for housing and for people and the different design manners that they wanted. I know in the packet I provided you a few excerpts of the town master plan where they wanted to have denser housing close to the road, walkable communities, and I think that the plan that we're proposing achieves that. The building is set back only 5 feet from the right-of-way of St. Paul Boulevard, and that sounds pretty close when it's required to be 60, and I fully understand that. But that's about 17 feet off the back of the sidewalk, so there's some significant green space there. And again, on the sidelines from, let's say, 2nd Street, where again, we're only 5 feet from the property line, but the building is really about 14 feet off the edge of the pavement. And then we have significantly more on the Somerville side. So although this is really not in the character of the neighborhood, I guess as far as you look at this is a 3-story structure. It is. If you go down the street, Westage is a 3-story, used to be an apartment complex. Now I understand it's condominium. So we are, there are 3-story structures in the area. As far as setbacks, Somerville is riddled with houses that are really close together, the historic nature of the area itself. So I don't think that request is that significant to ask for the relief. And then, having the relief as far as the front setback gives us that ability to develop the property in the manner of the comprehensive plan. As far as density, we are slightly over the building coverage. Code requires 33%. I think we're somewhere around 40%. Or 40%, so we're slightly over that. And so I also should point out that Mr. Solitari has been working on this project for several years. Recently, last winter, he met with the planning board conceptually. It was a 4-story building at that time. There were more garages. Took a step back, took some feedback from that meeting, and retooled the plan. We put a lot of effort into it, and we hope that you agree with us that this is a plan that's worthy of development in the town and is an allowed use in the commercial zoning. And I will take any questions you have related to the variance request.
What my question is, what are the permitted uses in a commercial C district?
So this is a permitted use, but it's a permitted use with a special use permit from the town board.
So they would need a special use permit
From the town
from the
board.
town board,
Correct.
and that would come before or after the variance application.
Well, I believe when speaking with the applicant, he wanted to approach the area variances as a first step to see if the variances were permitted per the board, and then apply for the special use permit, and then they would eventually go to planning board for site plan approval.
Isn't that kind of putting the cart before the horse?
That's what I was thinking. I mean,
Because
seems to me,
the special use permit's going to determine whether it's going to be allowed or not. If it's not allowed, then the variances are moot.
Yeah, well, I think based on the concept meeting we had, Michelle, and I could be wrong, that we were told to come here first. And there's obviously changes politically over the last 6 months or a year, but we were told to go to the ZBA first, see if they'll endorse the setbacks.
well, my concern is, and we've had this happen to us in the past, where we have had an application that's been submitted to us for variances for uses that aren't permitted. And because they weren't permitted, we couldn't act on them. And we've sat and listened to a number of input from neighbors about the viability of the project, about the whether it's a good idea, whether it fits in the neighborhood. And we've sat here and we've listened to all of that, and we've been in the position of repeatedly saying, well, unless the town board changes the zoning requirements, we don't have anything to decide. And when I'm told that it's a permitted use with a special use permit from the town board, then it seems to me it's unless and until the special use permit is granted by the town board, it's not a viable application for us to consider.
I would, to follow up on that, if we grant the permits or the variances, they run with the land. If you don't get the special use permit, it's got these weird variances that, I have a real problem with this.
The variances will become null and void if not executed with a building permit, or I believe the clause goes on to say, the town code goes on to say, legal consequences or,
Dealt with that last month,
Yeah, let's not get into that.
right, but
That's still hazy.
Yeah. My concern is that the town board needs to act on this and make a determination. Are they going to allow for this multifamily 3-story structure in this neighborhood with a special use permit? If they are, and they determine that that's appropriate, then like with the hens and the other animals, then we will determine what variances are needed or appropriate. But they've got to make the determination first, it seems to me.
I agree.
I agree, Jim.
Well, we fully understand your point of view 100%. You know, we're just kind of going through the process. We submitted this application.
Well, I
a while
appreciate
ago,
that. So
and-
we're not going to deny your application.
Oh, I understand that.
What we're going to do is we're going to suspend your application. So you don't have to prepare it all again. You don't have to pay a new filing fee. You don't have to do all of that. But what you need to do is have the town board say yay or nay.
Yep, well, I could do that. Do we want to go through this at all? And is there any questions, even though we can't make a decision? Does that help? I know we got public here.
Well,
Or is that just muddy the waters later on?
Well, people came to address this, so I'm certainly willing to listen to the presentation and to listen to the people who've come here tonight to address it. And I think and hope that the town board members would view the video of this meeting so they would have that input available to them when they're asked to make that decision. I'm sure from past experience that a number of people who have a view on it will express that view at the town board's meeting. And if the town board approves the variance and it comes back, or the special use permit, and it comes back that we're in a position to actually determine what variances we're willing to approve, then we'll listen to the presentation and all of the public input at that time as well.
Yep, okay.
So,
You know how I work. I want to be
I know.
open and give the public as much time to look at the plan and answer questions and
absolutely, and that may also help you in terms of hearing what people have to say in making some further, if necessary, revisions to what your proposal is. That might be better received in the neighborhood.
Yep, thank you.
So you can go ahead.
Well, I guess, I did a lot. Dave, you want to show your plans?
Well, we all have copies of that with our application, so why don't you turn it around?
Okay,
That's what I'm saying, ma'am. Let me run the meeting, please.
So, yeah, let's look at the site plan first here. So the proposal is a three-story apartment building here with two outbuildings that are garages used as buffers that buffer the neighbors behind. And the apartment building would actually have parking underneath it also. So there'd be garages for most of the parking. The parking requirement for this is 20 cars. So
I'm sorry, sir, could you move towards the microphone, please?
Or isn't there a handheld mic there somewhere?
I'm
Right?
not sure where it is, but
Usually next to you.
Yeah, it used to be over there. Do we need to, Jim?
So this.
and you're gonna direct your comments to the board.
I can't point to that.
Well, the audience can follow around, but your comments should be directed to the board.
To the apartment building is the big square on the corner, and then there's two outbuildings that are smaller garage buildings. The apartment building also has garages on the back side. So there's 2 units on the first floor, which would be handicap accessible, and then there's 4 units on the second and third floor. The design of the building is trying to get the roof lines down lower, bringing them down to the second floor so that it reduces the mass of the building, at least from an appearance standpoint. But we're also trying to keep the bulk of the building up towards the St. Paul corner, and that way it's a smaller structures that are back associated where it gets closer to the houses that are behind us, and we're using the garages sort of as buffers to the houses behind us, so they're not looking at driveway and some parking spots. And I believe you have the floor plans and elevations, the preliminary floor plans and elevations that we were proposing with this site plan.
I don't think we have floor plans. We have the diagram that's being displayed to those in attendance that shows the north elevation, the east elevation.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Oh,
I have it.
I may have missed it.
I didn't see them in
I'm
there.
not too sure if those things came with the site plans or not, or with the elevation.
They weren't in our package.
Yeah. Oh, you do have them.
He has it.
Oh, well.
I'm not sure that,
Apparently he's special.
And some didn't.
Thank you.
So the floor plans are showing all 3 floors. Obviously, for a site plan standpoint, it's only 1 footprint of the building. And then the other 2 just show that one set of garages is a little deeper than the other set of garages. 4 garages in each of the 2 garage buildings, and then there's 7 garage spaces under the apartment building.
It's about But I think it's important to note to the board that we're not asking for a height variance. We're under the 45-foot. So even though it's 3-story, we're per meet code related to that.
So if you could just run down the front, corner, front, rear, those are the variances that you're looking for, and the maximum
Building coverage.
density of the buildings, correct?
Yep,
And the lot area?
correct. So, even though there's 4 parcels, we're under that 20,000 square foot requirement.
Okay.
Why 2 garages in addition to the garages in the building?
That was to break up the bulk of the buildings, make them, a couple of smaller structures instead of one big, long one.
I know also that the applicant intends to use one of them in one of the garage bays as a maintenance area to maintain the property. So it'll have lawnmower, snow plow removal equipment in there.
Okay.
And then the other, you're looking at, if someone want 2 garages, so they just want to have that ability.
Okay.
What do you have for off-street parking? I mean, there's 17 bedrooms. That
we
could be
have,
2 or 3 people in some apartments.
We have 6 off-street parking and 1 additional spot for handicap, so 7 total. And they range, they're,
I saw those.
Yep.
But if you can understand what I'm trying to say is, if there's a married couple and somebody in the house, there could be 3 cars.
yeah, it could be 100%.
Yeah.
That's not really the market he's looking for, with a 2-bedroom, he's not, he's really trying to go for that. He feels like there'll be active adult community, people that want to be down there. It's not set up for kids and things like that. I know you can't control who signs the lease, but,
Yeah.
6 of the 10 units are 1 bedroom.
yeah, okay, well, there's a good point. So 6 of the 10 units are 1 bedroom.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Could be a married couple with another person, that could be 3 vehicles in a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
And then if people come, where are they going to park? If you've already filled all the parking spaces with just your people?
Yep.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, your point's well taken,
Okay.
yes.
Is there going to be an elevator, or is it just stairs access to the upper floors?
It's just stairs. The handicap units are on the first floor.
On the first floor, okay. And I take it the plan is that at least one of those garages would be for each of the units, since there's only one handicap spot that's shown outside?
Yes.
Okay.
As I look at this, it seems to me that we have 5 2-bedroom units and 5 single-bedroom units.
Oh, you are correct. Yeah, I thought we would change the one. Yeah, you're correct. You're correct. I forgot about the back bedrooms. Yeah. This project's been going on with the developer for a number of years, and it's morphed numerous times.
That means more people or more cars?
Less building.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll open it up to public input. I would note at the outset that along with the information that we received with respect to this application. We were also given tonight a letter that's signed by 53 people who indicate that they are all residents of the Somerville neighborhood and express their opposition to this application. I'm not going to read the names into the record, but they are there. There's 53. So, is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this application? If you could form a line up there and come up one at a time. Please be reminded that your comments are directed to the board and not to the applicant.
Hi, Lynn O'Brien, 5284 St. Paul Boulevard, 163 Lakefront.
No,
Oh, okay.
members of the public who are speaking to an application, your comments do not need to be sworn. The requirement of swearing in the applicant or their representative arose a number of years ago when we found out that an applicant had given us misinformation during the presentation that we relied upon in granting relief. And then we found out that the information was incorrect, but there was no remedy available to or consequence to the applicant that was available. So by imposing a swearing requirement for all of the applicants, it then sets up a consequence if what they tell us is not correct. But for public input, you're entitled to express your opinion. We might disagree with it. People might think your opinion is out in the ozone or something, but you're entitled to your opinion, and you're entitled to express it to us.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim, wait, hold on one sec. Jim, real quick, does it have to, like the comments, can it just be open-ended, or does it have to relate to the specific variances that they're looking for at this time?
It should relate to the variances that are being requested, which are the front, corner front, rear, building coverage, and lot area. But I understand that there might be some vagueness as to what that implies. So we'll take the comments, and if I think you're getting far afield from what it is, I'll let you know.
Okay. So I'm opposed to a three-story apartment building in my neighborhood with 2 additional garage structures. So mine is a series of questions. So why 3 stories when the surrounding houses on the streets near it are all 1 and 2 story? 10 units proposed. I think you did answer the number of bedrooms per apartment. The garages, so I know Westage sells garage space and rents garage space. Is that the purpose of having all of these extra garages with this apartment complex? Since the property doesn't have beach access through Somerville and 2nd Street, how will this be conveyed to the tenants? What's the monthly rent proposed for these units? And is the apartment building targeting any specific clients, or is it involved with any governmental programs and incentives? My question to the town is our neighborhood has a very, very large number of rentals. If I walk out my front door, I look to my left, there's 8 different places that can be rented. I look to my right, there's 9 more, 2 across the street. Some are short-term, some are Airbnbs, some have 1-year leases. It's a neighborhood that has, I believe, an inordinate number of rentals compared to other neighborhoods in Arundecoit. So I tried to find out, how do I get information on the number of actual rentals in my neighborhood? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry that we're not in a position to provide answers to your
Okay.
questions. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you.
But thank you for sharing them.
My name is Katha Pattison. I reside at 151 Lakefront, which there's no such thing as lakefront. It's a row of houses, but I'm the house at the end of Somerville. So this very much would impact us as long-term homeowners. The sewers pump uphill from our area, and most of the home residents have had problems with the sewers, but luckily, the town of Arundecoit has fantastic teams, and they've always been able to help that out. When they tore down the Anchor Inn, Sly Fox, it sank. They brought in big stones. They sank. The problem was the basement had filled with water during the flooding season, and it sat there and rotted, and it could no longer become a viable business. So therefore, good luck building underground garages that'll be sustainable, especially with the way the water from the lake affects the underground flow. You dig down 3 inches in our yard and water will bubble up. The other thing is it's a constant battle if you live in Somerville on the lakeside to keep people out. They think they have a right to your yard. They think they have a right to your beach. They think they can kick your dogs. People have no respect anymore in life. And to put in this many units at a corner and have parking issues and people with snow, and we can have a really bad winter. It's already a problem on Somerville Drive and 2nd Street to park cars for those who don't have driveways and garages. I don't know what these LLC people and property developers are thinking, but it is not practical for a little town in Somerville to build more. Thank you.
Elizabeth Perry, 22nd Street. I agree with her, and it's just not the area for this type of thing. We have a nice, peaceful, quiet neighborhood, and if you look at the other picture, the garage that they want to build, the garages would back right up to our house. And we don't want apartments next door. And okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill James, 5359 St. Paul Boulevard. Been there 46 years, and I've seen the changes that are going on, and to me, the other woman was talking about rentals. If you stand on that property and you start pointing, that whole section of St. Paul Boulevard on the other side is rentals. Along the lake, there's doubles, there's rentals all over the place, and they're right about the parking. From within 6 months, you can't park on St. Paul Boulevard because of the plowing and all that. And right now, on the south side, you can't park. There's signs that say that there's no standing. And if you go to across the street, Somerville Drive is no stopping. And the same with Parkview. So the parking is not there for off-street. If they're going to build, he's got a piece of property, he wants to do something, put single-family homes in there. It's if you have instead of rentals, you one occupants. That makes a stable neighborhood. You don't have a transition of people coming, going, and you don't know who they are or who their friends are. And as far as I'm concerned, I would like to see the setbacks keeping the way they are, because they were designed to keep uniform residential housing, and like the rest of the neighborhood is. So I don't think it's a good project. That particular one is not a good project to have anything to do with. And as far as when she was talking about the water, in past years, when I used to walk the dog at night, I could hear the water coming out of the cellar there. They had it going into the sewer. So it was trying to pump itself out then. So I don't know if it's in the flood zone or what the foundations are going to be or whatever, but I don't think it's a good thing. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
I am definitely against this proposal.
Can you give us your name and your address first, please, ma'am?
Okay, I'm Nancy Griffin, 15 Second Street.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I am definitely opposed to this proposal. Our neighborhood is a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. It's a safe neighborhood. People are comfortable walking up and down the street, walking their dogs and their kids, families. And now he's coming in, and most of the properties in that area are 1- and 2-story buildings, many on very small lots. And this is just totally out of character of the neighborhood. And it will crowd our neighborhood out. It will cause pollution and noise, which we don't want. And personally, I don't trust the owner of the property. Since he bought it, he has done nothing but destroy it and abuse residents. And because of my strong feeling, we put together a petition against it. And it's no longer 52, it's 56 signatures. And I'm sure we could get a lot more if we had more time. So I am hoping that you will not even consider this proposal, because it would be a detriment to the neighborhood.
All right, just so you understand, two things. Number one, if you can give us the updated petition, because the one that we have has 53 signatures on it.
Yeah.
Number two, you will have more time because, as I said, we're waiting for the town board to decide whether or not to grant the special use permit before we make any determinations at all.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So tonight, no decision will be made tonight, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Is there a date set that they will be hearing again? Or-
That'll be up to the town board to set a date, and that should be a hearing that would be advertised and similar to tonight's.
Okay. Will we be receiving a notification?
That I can't tell you. I would think that you would, but
If it's a scheduled public hearing, you will.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Good evening. Richard Masters, 202 Westage at the Harbor. I'd like to start by, if you'd all bring the elevation back up in front of you, the elevation drawing. You've heard the term elephant in the room. Well, this would be the elephant in Somerville. If you go there and spend some time there, all the houses are small. You probably could find one close to the street. Close to the sidewalk, but the majority of them, they're probably laid back 30, 40 feet. This is just so out of place for the neighborhood. One of the things the gentleman said to support it was that there'll probably be no kids. Well, there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood. This is a place that has like starter homes, smaller ones. It's a good place to start and then move up into Irondequoit. So you get a lot of first-time buyers in there. I've spent 60 years in Irondequoit, a house on Lakefront, which is the other side of this monstrosity, Norton. I forget the name of the street. It's the cul-de-sac on Rock Beach Road. In a house in Bellhurst. So I've been around 60
Norcrest Drive?
Norcrest Drive, thank you. You're always there, Jim.
We try.
So it just doesn't fit into the neighborhood. It's a comfortable neighborhood with very small houses. A lot of them started off as tents with a frame with a tent over it, and then they build them up. That's White City in Somerville. So this is completely out of place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello. My name is Lorraine Thomas. I live at 5355 St. Paul Boulevard, and I have for the past 20 years. My home is 850 square feet. It's smaller than what these proposed apartments would be. I live there alone, of course. I've had my experience with rental properties, and it's not good. Not at all. The house next to me, 5351, they've destroyed the pavement. I have to go out and look for nails because he's always cutting up wood. It's just, it doesn't fit. There's no other way to put it. It just doesn't fit. If someone was going to build a residential home, you know, a two-story home, I think that would be well received. But a 10-unit apartment building, no. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, hi, I'm Martha Swayson, 575 Rock Beach Road. I'm really speaking for my daughter, who is at the end of 2nd Street, right at the end of where all this traffic would be going in and out. She couldn't be here tonight. Just reiterating support for all the people who gave good reasons for why this would not be a good idea. Having lived at the end of 2nd Street myself, I bought that house in 1978. The parking, just because it's a dead-end street, just because of that, is terrible. The turning around, I can't imagine, when I was looking at the pictures you have, how people are going to drive in, go down 2nd Street, turn into the back part of this, it isn't there now, and then come out the other end, and it doesn't look like there's room for 2 cars to pass both in and out. I'm not sure. That's something to a question. But I just want to say that just for the congestion on 2nd Street alone, it would be a disaster. And the street, Somerville Drive, the same. It's just overpopulating a small plot of land, really, that the density just seems totally inappropriate. And the height, as Mr. Masters said, makes it the elephant in the room. It just is inappropriate in terms of size. So, thank you very much.
Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Is there anyone here who would like to talk to us about some aspect of the application that's neither for it nor against it? Seeing none, I'll give the applicant the opportunity to respond to the input that was received during the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to thank you for allowing the public to speak and take questions that you didn't really have to tonight, and the board as well. I'm not going to go point by point to the neighbors that showed up and address their comments. I understand them. And as the public should know, if we're fortunate to go to the town board and do a presentation to the town board, the next step would be coming back to this board and trying again. And if we're fortunate going to the zoning board, we'll go to the planning board. So long story short, we'll be spending a lot of time together in the near future if this moves forward. I do my job very well. I take detailed notes of what you said. I'll try to incorporate those into the plan as best as possible. I think we're focusing on the size of the building, traffic, parking. We will look at those elements of the plan. I do want to reiterate the fact that the town of Arundecoit went through an extensive master plan in recent times, looking to change some of the elements. They spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of public input, and master plans are used as a guide in these times of transition. So we're probably going to rely heavily on that as I make my presentation to the town board, and I hope if I come back to you that you'll I'll have some more information related to the master plan. And if you look at it, the elements are pushing the buildings closer to the road, pushing them closer together, townhome kind of feel. So again, I appreciate the time, and I will look forward to coming back to you in the near future, unless you have any more questions for me.
No, thank you, sir. I don't believe you do. Oh,
I have just one. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
L. Andrew Evans. What was the results of your PERT tests?
We have not done any soil tested related to this property at this time.
With the design with the garage underneath the building in that area.
Yep.
That would be very important, I think.
Yes, well, your point's well taken, and I guess I should clear up a misnomer that was presented by the public. These are not buried below the building, so they're at grade.
Okay.
So they're not going to be depressed into the ground. But you know, as the plan goes through, we will be doing some testing for the stability of foundation, other things such as that, to make sure that the structure is solid. If you know, we haven't put those dollars in yet, we're so far out. But I appreciate your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
any other questions or comments from the board?
I'll just make a comment, one comment, which I like the fact that you cited a lot of the master plan, but I would say that, too, that the master plan was created in 2014. I think a lot has changed since then, particularly with regard to the pandemic and short-term rentals. So I would agree with a lot of the stuff that's in the plan. However, I would also be subjective as far as the housing and some of the problems down in that area with regard to short-term rentals. So, and one other question, what are some of the other uses for that, or other, uses for that property other than the restaurants? Is there any other uses besides that in the single-family homes?
I have the
Well,
code.
it's a C commercial district, so.
Yeah.
Right.
And to answer your question in the small part, you know, there wouldn't be a VRBO situation. These are year leases. You know, I would consider those short term, but you know, I understand your point's well taken, and I won't quote every aspect of the master plan moving forward. I know it is 14 years old, but I guess one thing you have to look at when this is a business. Mr. Solitary is he's bought the property, wanted to do something with it, and you get into unit count and how for construction costs. Basically, right, you buy your land, what's your development cost divided by units, and that's, you know, you make an economic decision on moving forward. So dropping unit count is a hard thing, but you know, we'll see what the town board has to say about it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this point, the board is going to take a 5-minute, well, we'll come back at between now and 8:15. 8:10, we'll break till. Oak Ridge Drive has departed. So I see Ms. Boylott is still present, and the applicant with respect to St. Paul Boulevard has also departed. So the first, let me get the decision sheet here. With respect to the application pertaining to 344 Sagamore Drive, this is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does someone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion that we grant the request, 6-foot fence variance request based on the following findings of fact. Change to the character of the neighborhood. There's, like the applicant indicated, there's a lot of fences at 6 foot in Irondequoit, particularly the examples that she exhibited in her presentation. Alternative solutions, based on the applicant's presentation, the applicant indicated that it would actually improve the surrounding area, and mentioned that the adjoining neighbor did have a 6-foot fence as well, so it would be consistent with her neighbor's fence. It's not a substantial request. We've granted several 6-foot variances for fences in the town. It's not going to be, there's no adverse physical or environmental impact. Is it self-created? It is. However, that doesn't necessarily rule out the fact that the board can grant a variance based on it being self-created. And with those findings, I ask for the board's approval to grant the request.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. This is going to be a little weird. Motion carries 6 votes in favor, 1 absent, and the alternate in favor. So the total is 7 in favor, no abstentions, no opposed, no abstentions, and 1 board member absent. Oh. It's generating revenue. They're trying to. All right, so the next application, we'll go back to the top of the agenda. Pertains to the application at 153 Oak Ridge Drive. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application? Seeing none, I will make an application that we grant the special use permit with the conditions that we will allow the harboring of 6 hens for a 5-year period with no replacement hens and no roosters. There will be an annual inspection by the town staff with no advance notice provided. The outdoor structure will be enclosed with fencing, wire mesh. The wire mesh fencing to be buried 2 feet below the ground to prevent access to the area where the animals are being kept. Coop and run are to be at least 4 feet from the property lines, must be maintained and cleaned with waste properly disposed of. Food is to be stored indoors in sealed containers, and the applicant will provide an initial certification from a veterinarian. Any discussion?
I have a question, just occurred to me. I do not know what the lifespan of a chicken is, but what we're saying is that if, say, 3 years from now, one of the hens dies, natural causes or whatever, they cannot replace it.
Correct. Yes, and when we were here last month, there was an applicant, one of the few that have actually come to renew it after 5 years. And over the course of that time, they had gone down to 3 hens, and then we basically said you can add 3 and start again for another 5 years. So apparently, some hens have a lifespan of less than 5 years.
Apparently.
Mr. Chair, are you still going to do the annual certificates? You reread that. I don't.
Doing an initial
Just
certificate.
initial?
Yeah. Well, I didn't, the annual inspection by the town
Oh, okay.
is, but it's an initial certificate of health,
Gotcha. Okay.
but not the annual one.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 7 votes in favor. No
Jim, I
opposed.
think Michelle has a question.
No abstention. 1 member is absent. Yes.
I have a question that has come up that I wanted to propose to the board, and you could think about it before our next special use permit application. Is a lot of times they come in and they ask if they could be free range chickens. Meaning
Where they run around unrestrained and unhemmed in?
not within the coop.
Oh. I'll speak for myself. I can't imagine that I would say, what a great idea.
Okay. Just a thought.
All right.
For our next application, because it has come up with code enforcement on whether or not the hens can be free range in the backyard.
Well,
A few years ago, we
I
had-
know that some of the people that we've given special use permits to will have the chickens outside of the coop in the run area, while they're out there and the kids are playing and everything, but they go back in the coop.
Correct.
So, if that's what people are referring to as free range, I mean, that's as long as,
Permissible?
but just running around the neighborhood?
24/7.
No.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we had that situation off of Kings Highway where they got out and they were on the neighbor's deck and they were running in the road, almost getting hit because they got out of the yard, even though it was fenced in.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Not a good idea.
No.
Correct.
No.
Well,
Just a thought.
the city of Rochester, as I understand it, doesn't have any requirements for hens or chickens or roosters. And they sell them at the public market, I'm told. I haven't seen them there yet, but thanks for bringing that up. The next application pertains to 5324, 5334, 5340, St. Paul Boulevard and 8 2nd Street. There's not a selection for this, but I'm going to move that we suspend any consideration of this application unless and until the town board has issued a special use permit allowing the concept of an apartment structure on that property to go forward.
I can second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 7 votes in favor. No opposed, no abstentions. 1 member of the board remains absent, but thank goodness we have an alternate who's available to step in and help us. With the information pertaining to the cases before us tonight, I believe that everyone received, as I did, a copy of minutes from the August 7th, 2023 meeting, which yeah, it's quite lengthy, and this is, I believe, is this the night that was relating to the property at, yes, the UPREP application.
It was UPrep and 41 Colebrook. Both of those were that night.
Both were that night. That's why at the last phrase I was recalled in the minutes that it says our meeting was adjourned at 11:51 p.m. I recall that very well. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes? Anyone have any questions or suggested revisions to the minutes? All right, then I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented. So myself, Mr. Engler, Mr. Intini, and Mr. Trevis are the only 4 who were present then, who are present tonight. So,
I'll second.
you'll second? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain, since I wasn't there.
Right, so the motion carries 4 votes in favor, 1 abstention. Mr. Johnson is absent tonight. I believe that concludes. Does anyone have any other business to bring before the board? Seeing none, I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, 1 member's absent. and we are concluded.